Meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. That's what it says on the screen.
All right.
That's what it says on the screen. I don't see it yet, though. We're online. We're live.
Oh, okay, great. All right, let's. Oh, Jesus, man, she's nonstop.
You don't have to excuse this mask because they require it.
Oh, no doubt.
I got folks walk past me and say, "You're security. You're supposed to be wearing a mask too." Yeah, okay. All right.
All right. Yes. Let's start. Let's share them. Since we live.
Meeting is now streaming. Sharing it now.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening.
Welcome to another edition of the People Before Politics radio show with Damon K. Jones and AJ Woodson. I am AJ Woodson. One man to the side of me, Damon K. Jones.
What's happening?
Here, and we have a special guest today, Stan Ridley. We're here with another COVID-19 edition of the People Before Politics radio show. I believe this is episode 267, I believe.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening.
So we're sharing it to all the pages now. Damon's sharing it to the pages. So the name Ridley, you might remember, he's the father of the Mount Vernon officer who was off duty, went to intervene when he saw someone either being robbed or attacked or something. And what ended up happening, the White Plains Police Department, the White Plains or Westchester County Police ended up killing him. And of course, as in all other situations around the area, no one has gone to jail, as far as I know. Am I correct on that?
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to say that to say, I've been seeing people protest all over Westchester County, screaming out names like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, going back to Eric Garner and Mike Brown. We have unsolved cases of Black lives lost at the hands of law enforcement here in Westchester, and Christopher Ridley is one of them. Kenneth Chamberlain is one of them. Jonathan Maldonado. The list goes on. We need to keep those names alive. It's good to shout out those names that are 1,000 miles away, all the way in Atlanta and Minneapolis and even Staten Island. But let's not forget Westchester, what happened here. This happened here. And as far as I know, no one's going to jail for any of these cases, as far as I know.
Right. And not only that, I Stan, man, I thank you for coming on, taking the time out of your holiday weekend and your busy schedule for coming on. You know, it's ironic because the other day I was in one of the groups and someone posted a Black officer group posted and I'm sharing this video live in that group, posted a flyer, Back the Blue. And there was a long conversation on that thread on Facebook about Black officers backing the blue. And I brought up the killing of your son. And I questioned them, with your son's case, who do we back, Detective Ridley or Back the Blue? And because of the fact that the police union of Westchester County literally attacked Chris for what he done, and only thing he done was be a hero and try to do his job. What is your feeling about that, Stan?
Well, it's unfortunately that and I assume it's been the same president of the PBA, because I know you and I have been in some courtrooms and he's been there attacking my son for what he did. And as my godfather would say, I guess everybody was doing their job right, and Christopher wasn't doing his job right, or is it vice versa? And he ended up dead. Because if everyone was trained and everyone was taught the correct way, then we wouldn't have to be here. No one speaks about Chris because they don't consider him as
Stan, can you speak up a little, Stan? Or maybe you cover the mic.
Let me come off the AirPods. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can barely hear you.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh, there
That's
you go.
better.
That's better.
All right, I came off the AirPods.
Go ahead, brother.
So we missed most of what you said. She was low.
Oh, now you went low again. Yo, you covering the mic?
He's muted now.
Am I muted now?
There you go.
There you go.
Perfect.
All right. So as Damon knows, because he's been actually by my side, walking in some shape, form, or fashion, and has been in certain situations where no one considered Chris a black man as well as a cop. They didn't consider him as one. They still don't consider him as one. When they shouting Black Lives Matter, and they're going from Sean Bell all the way down, DJ Henry all the way down, and I'm the first one that said that this should never happen again. And that's 12 years later. How many killings have we had? Y'all have the statistics on it since then, because no one pays attention, and no one has looked at this case. I'm here because no one understands the story today, and I'm here today to say that it's time to get the story correct on what happened to my son and doing his job. Over 12 years, I've met different people that were there. And everybody tell me the story of how your son was a hero. But no one was invited to go to the grand jury. There's certain people like police officers that try to take people to the grand jury, and the grand jury, the district attorney wouldn't allow them. There was a Spanish man, I have his name. He was attacked by the police department because he went to the grand jury, told the grand jury the story, and they did not use him. And they tried. He came to my job, and told me that he needed help because every time he turned around and walked the White Plains, they were trying to arrest him. Only because he told the truth about what happened with my son.
Right. And White Plains Police was doing the investigation.
Yes, and then as you know, when we went to the AG at that time was our governor, and I said that police can't police. You can't investigate police, because it's gonna be biased. Somebody tell me investigate one of y'all, it's gonna be like we're gonna sit down and we're gonna have a beer or drink a smoothie or something, and then is that the story, and that's what you're going with. So we were Damon, you remember when we went with Sean Bell and the lawyers and we were in Governor Cuomo's when he was the AG, to get a special prosecutor on the case. You think that happened?
Right.
To the day.
Right.
From the time that man said to me, good luck in getting a fair case in Westchester.
Exactly.
He said, good luck. He spoke to Mr. Bell and told Mr. Bell, I'm going to Washington myself and get a special prosecutor on the case. And he turned to me and he said, Mr. Ridley, where's your case? I said, Westchester. He said, good luck in getting a fair trial in Westchester. And I'm sitting there like, what are you talking about? And guess what? No no results. Everything was covered up, just like the Chamberlain case. You know, Westchester needs to own up. Yeah, they need to own up to the stuff that they have done in this small little county and stop the foolishness. Because I'm coming now for the truth. I'm gonna tell the people, I already know what it is. You know, Damon, what's the officer name that was trying to teach in the academy, deadly physical force?
Oh, you're talking about the one that was involved in the shooting?
The one, no, we're not involved in the shooting. He's the one that gave the final shot, gave the headshot, and shot Chris in the head.
Right. When they were showing when they was doing the police on police training, he was one of the instructors.
Yes, ma'am.
That shot Chris, that did the headshot to Chris.
And he's an instructor?
He was right. The whole thing was.
I'll go over there in a few minutes.
I mean, what?
I'll go over there in a few minutes.
Yeah, all right, but they're bringing a pizza.
We found out. I put Stan on mute for a minute.
Yeah, I did.
We found out that the officer that did the headshot to Chris, that gave the actual headshot to Chris, was in the academy teaching police on the police on police shooting training. And some officers that were from Mount Vernon felt disrespected that he was even there. And it got out. It got out, and it ended up with a hearing at the public safety committee of Westchester County.
Damon, go ahead and I know you're being very precious with that. They had a very bad experience as rookies in the academy with this guy. It was told to me that he was aggressive with those rookies, so to speak, and that he continued, because even in the trial, he was very aggressive in the trial, and he told me when he was talking to the lawyer that was doing the case that he did the right job and that he'll do it the same way again. And I stood up and said, "You would shoot and kill my son or someone else again, your day will come." And the judge said to me, "I can't speak out loud, but you can allow this cop that gave after Chris has been shot 5 or 6 times already, that gave the kill shot at 8 feet away." And Christopher they were in the same academy. That was Christopher's platoon officer.
Exactly.
He was Christopher's platoon officer. They do not forget one another. So what got me here today, I'm listening to the Floyd case. When I find out that the news that they knew one another, I said to myself, did this guy know Chris, had something against Chris when he was in the academy with him, and did that? I've had people in his academy over time come to me and was like, "Mr. Ridley, I just want to say my condolences to you. And, I was in the academy with your son." They don't forget one another. So he has been arrogant then, when he shot my son, when he was on trial, and during this, when he was teaching in the academy, because there's no way in heck I could have done that. Nowhere in heck. And at that time, they didn't have the training anyway, right, Damon? Neither
No.
one of them had. Nobody in the county had the training.
No. At that time, nobody. No. We didn't have police on police shooting training. No, you're absolutely correct.
And still didn't have it. What, 2 years or 3 years afterward?
Maybe about a year. Maybe about a year after. Because they did the task force, right? They did the task force after the shooting. They came out with the report, and I think it was maybe about 6 months, 6 or 7 months. It ended up almost a year because they had to do the task force, which was like 3 months, and then another 6 or 7 months after that, they implemented in the ongoing training, and then in the academies. But still, not many of the police departments, as I'm aware of, do the yearly ongoing training that was prescribed. So
let me ask you,
go ahead, AJ.
so I'm clear, the individual, the officer who shot the fatal shot, so Officer Christopher Ridley, then ends up teaching a class to other officers on what not to do in that situation? I mean,
Exactly.
is that what I'm hearing? Like,
Exactly.
okay.
And it got back to me, you know, and I'm looking like, you know, how's that possible? Who allowed that to happen? And you know, I picked up the phone and called Damon, like, listen, Doc, what is going on here? What is this? You know, pick up the phone and call Lyndon Williams, like, you know, why would you? And all because he's not a humble person at all. He attacked those rookies, you know, the people that were in the academy. He attacked them, said Ridley was wrong, you know. So that's another, you know, act of what's going on. The kid that killed Floyd, he had 19 complaints against him,
And he was the training officer.
and he was a training officer.
Right.
So, see, I have a problem, and I know people are gonna say I always make things black and white. But had Christopher Ridley been a white officer, and this has never happened to a white officer, but that had happened to a white officer, they would never have allowed him to teach that class. They would have never allowed, this would never have been allowed. There's no way you can tell me this would have been allowed.
AJ, let me tell you this, and they made it this way. Okay, that young man, my son, was doing this job. He saved 2 lives that day. Okay, he did all of what he was supposed to do to identify himself there, and how the Lord would have it. You know, when you watch the video and you watch Chris go into the county building. Well, when you go into that county building at that time, there was a security guard there. And Chris identified himself to the security guard and said to him, go to the back and let the county police know that I need assistance. That's only police talk. And you know, to come outside. Well, how I know that was what he said was because the gentleman that's a security officer knew Chris. Chris knows his daughter, which Chris DJ for a friend of mine's, good long time friend of mine, and they usually comes to the event. So that's Chris got killed on that Friday. That Saturday, my partner calls me and says, Stan, I got a witness for you. And I said, well, who is it? And he said, it's a security guard that Chris talked. I said, how you know that? He said, he called the girl's name out and said she called my daughter and told my daughter that Chris spoke to my father. They all hang out at the cookout, you know, together. They all around the same age. And he said that he talked to him. I said, well, tell him we need him, you know, as a witness. You know, I'm gonna get him in contact with, you know, the House of Justice, you know, Al Sharpton and so forth. And I said to him that, you know, matter of fact, just tell him to come down to the church. And that Saturday morning, he never showed up, but Dave called me and told me that they told him, said the guy told him that Westchester County Police told him if he say anything, that he will never have a job in the state of New York. Till today, I never met him. He lives in Virginia now, as in so many other people have moved out, are gone. But that was the case, with him. So when Chris takes off and do what he did, that night, the news media, this is how the news media play in this whole Westchester, and I'm still pissed at News 12 for the things that they did. They put the one black man that was there, which is, God bless the dead, is no longer here, which was a friend of mine.
Right.
As I was talking to some friends of mine, and I can tell you, a friend of mine came to me that night and said, Stan, do you know the county police officers killed your son? And I said, is that what happened? He said, yeah. The first words that came out of my mouth was, call Robin Martin. That's the first words that came out of my mouth when they said the county police killed my son. I said, call Robin Martin, because Robin Martin and I are friends. And I knew that I would get answers from him, because when him and I sat in the football games with his son, with my son. So we're friends. They said, Stan, that's who they're saying killed Chris. All right, what am I supposed to do with this? So tears is already coming on top of tears. They got him on the front on the news Friday night. When they heard Al Sharpton was coming up here, Saturday morning, they had three other officers on the news. Saturday morning, they had the three other officers, but they were trying to say Robin Martin killed my son. And people don't know to today that Robin never pulled his gun.
Right.
Never pulled his gun. They don't have any ballistics for him or Chris at all. Period. To today. They haven't found anything. Well, we're still looking. All right, y'all keep right on looking. Westchester County needs to come clean about everything. They sweep everything under the rug from the DJ Henry, Christopher. What's the lady? They fractured the whole side of her face. Police officer that slammed her down on the.
From Yonkers.
Yonkers slammed her down. All this stuff going on, and nobody's at fault for it.
So Stan, a lot of people don't understand, man, and that's why I asked you to come on, what you went through, and dealing with the political structure, and dealing, because we were dealing with Janet DeFiore, and for some unknown godly reason, how she had Black leadership in Westchester in the palm of her hand when you was just trying to seek justice for your son, and the fact that you was trying, but basically they wasn't giving you justice. Go ahead, brother.
It's a shame that 12 years later, that there's no clear understanding on what happened, and I'm going to get that. I'm going to get that information. There's a lot of people that were involved in this that personally, if I had not been at Grace Baptist Church, you couldn't have been. You would have thought you wasn't in a better place. That my pastor and boss was the chairman of the National Action Network. To get a phone call from him that Friday night, said, listen, stay by your phone. The next call you're going to get is from Al Sharpton. Most people take months and months and months to get to Al Sharpton. but the Lord saw it fit for me to be in that place at the time, in Westchester at the time, to have I can't tell you how many people were in the district attorney's office that I know that worked there, that I know that personally, that know me and know Chris, that didn't show up to do anything. Calvin Scholar was right there in the district attorney's office. He did so much damage to me, you wouldn't understand if I began to tell you the story. The stuff that they did. My son is not in the grave sleeping in peace, Doc. I'm telling you, he's not. And I get out here and I play nice because I still got my mama still got report cards with don't play well with others. Because if you cross that line with me, Doc, I'm coming for you. But I can't dishonor my son. Okay? You want to talk about people getting in positions and places because of my son? Let's talk about Devereaux Cannon. How he was the lawyer and turned around and walked away, and all of a sudden became the chairman of the Democratic
Talk about
party.
it. Talk
Okay,
about it.
because I was at his house when they announced that. I was at the house when Janet DeFiore was there. I was at the house when they nominated them on the ticket for Democrats. I was at the house when what's his name came. What's his name was the trying to run for county exec.
That's Reno? George Latimer?
No, before then.
This is before.
Oh,
Andy Spanner.
And I was at that cookout that night in his backyard, and I said, "But what the hell?" Went back to Devereaux and asked him, "Is this a conflict of interest?" He told me, "No, it's not a conflict of interest." Well, dude, I must be some kind of fool, but okay, fine. Months later, he walks away from the case to turn around and become the lead lawyer of the case. But that's a whole nother story on Chris's mother's side. It's a whole nother story. We should do a movie, but it's a whole nother story. But those people took a step up, stepped on my son, took a step up. Let's talk about your what's the safety commissioner up in White Plains.
Which one?
For the police department.
Chong?
Oh, Chong. Well, yes, because it was. See, we know all the stuff is hidden because when Chris was killed, Chong was the commissioner of Mount Vernon Police Department.
Yep.
And now he's the commissioner of White Plains Police Department. And even the task force by Governor David Patterson on the police shooting task force by Governor David Patterson, one of the people in charge said, "Well, ain't this something that Chong is now the commissioner of White Plains Police Department? When Chris was killed, he was the commissioner of Mount Vernon." And I know for a fact, and people that are listening can talk to Anthony Mitchell, that
that's right.
when they were going to White Plains to investigate, because Mount Vernon Police Department is supposed to investigate every police shooting, that Mitchell and another detective was pulled off that investigation. That is a fact.
Oh, no. I got it from the officer that was told that she was in charge to go there and to investigate. And Chong called her on the phone and personally told her that if she does not return back to base, she will be brought up on departmental charges. And it's supposed to be, from what I know, anywhere in the country that a police officer from your municipality gun go off, you're supposed to go and investigate. So now, Chong, did you Did you know that Christmas gun didn't go off? So you told her to come back because of that? Or you were going to bring her up on charges because you didn't want her to go up there to find out what the truth was? They didn't allow any of the Mount Vernon police officers to go up there to go and see what was going on with their colleague. None of them. So you talk about that blue line? Okay. Didn't let any of them go up there at that night. So if anybody goes up there, there's going to be a problem. Okay, fine. Chris got killed at 8:45, at 4:45. You explain to me if this not disrespect, that man's body still laying on the ground at 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
That's right.
Now, y'all couldn't tell me that ain't no time. For no time, y'all found out he was a police officer. That he was a police officer. To lay his body. The Mount Vernon funeral director called me and told me that he called up there to tell them why is his body laying on the ground. They told me that's under investigation. If he'd have been a white man, they would have shut white planes down and helicoptered him to Valhalla. They did none of that. They did none of that.
Yo, Stan, we got Anthony Mitchell who was on that day.
Yeah, I sent him the link.
Yo, what up?
His audio still connected.
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen?
Hey, what up, man?
Oh man, what's going on, young man?
Hey,
You living a good
Hey,
life.
what up,
Look at this guy,
Come on,
man.
man.
Look
Don't
at
do
this
that,
guy.
man.
See?
Don't do that, man. Cut his audio off. I mean, video. He in the cabana. He in the cabana with a Cuban. totally embarrassing, man. Don't make no
What's
sense.
going on, brother? What's going on?
What's
Hey,
happening with you?
What's all that white hair on your head, Stan?
Come on, man.
But you was in the flower? You was in the kitchen cooking?
Yeah. You know how I go.
Full beard and everything, boy.
Somebody told me I couldn't grow no hair.
You shouldn't have never believed it. They can't believe that one. Oh my God. What's going on, guys?
What's going on? We were talking about the case, and we were talking about you being on the department at the time, and I went and quickly sent you the link so you could chime in and share anything that you wanted to share from your perspective. You were there.
Well, I mean, there were 4 witnesses that I think I brought to the table. One of them, he moved to Florida because the statement they took, he said that's not what he said. He signed it, but he didn't read what they wrote. I forget the gentleman's name. And that was the one that said he's seen the shield on the ground. I can't think of his name right now. And I brought another gentleman that gave a statement, and they ended up arresting him, and he never I don't think he ever testified. And then there was
Mitch, the guy driving the bus. Was that the bus driver you talking about?
Yeah, that's the bus driver. The first one I was talking about. He said he seen the shield on the floor.
Well, he testified in the trial, and he said that he took a picture of it.
Right.
Of the shield, because he said they had the bus door closed, and he can see the 2 things that this man said and stood out. I saw the badge on the ground, and I took a picture of it, and they took my phone. I also saw him look at the black officer, which was what's the name, Robert Martin, and tell him I'm on the job.
Yep. He told me he's seen it. But when they took his statement, they wrote something else, and he thought they wrote what he said. And he's reading it.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but in court, he also said they tried to read that back to him, and he said, "I'm not going for that." He said, "I'm not. Y'all altered my statement." He's right in front of me. He said, "So y'all can do what y'all want, but that's not what happened."
Right. There you go.
Right.
That's not what happened.
And he ended up moving to Florida because he said he was being harassed.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And the other young gentleman, I I sat there when he took his statement, and then like a week later they arrested him on an old warrant, which I didn't understand. If his name, he was right there in the police station. He was in the projects. He told me they arrested him, and I never heard no more from him after that. And then I had brought 2 more people, one that worked for the county, and one that worked for the homeless shelter. But they didn't want to speak to the officer without me there. And the officer said I couldn't come in, which was BS, because when the other man took the statement, I sat right there so that he could feel comfortable. I can't think of the lieutenant's name. He had the handlebar mustache.
Well, there were a lot of people over time, because a lot of people don't, they don't know, that I know a lot of people. Yeah. And there were some people in that actual building that, Jimmy Best.
Yes.
Jimmy Best's wife said that some of her co-workers were there when it happened, and said that they put a RV down in front of the building. Said, anybody know anything, come down and talk. They said that they went down and talked, and those people said, if you want to keep your job, that ain't the story you want to tell.
Because the kid told me from the beginning, Rob Martin, I don't know why they put it out that he fired his gun. He never pulled his gun out.
Never pulled his gun, Doc. And I try to defend him to so many people, because they don't know what, that we're friends. We're friends.
Right.
And I couldn't convince people that Robin never pulled his gun, that we got the evidence, and he never pulled his gun.
He never pulled his gun. And he was talking, and before he could finish talking, they fired.
Yes.
So all of that stuff, and one of the investigators told me they didn't even want to touch it, because if you look at the video, what a lot of people didn't know is that Chris was left-handed.
Exactly.
And when they look at the video and they talk about, he had his gun. Oh no, he's left-handed. Was on the other side. I know because I'm left-handed.
I know because I'm left-handed, and that's why you couldn't understand my basketball game. But go ahead.
Well,
Hey, listen. I think
about your left hand. I was more worried about your right hand.
Listen, the left hand was key because the narrative that they have given was that he was turning this way.
Right.
He was turning to the right, and they saw his gun, the shining object of his gun. They never took into account that Chris was left-handed. So if he was left-handed and he was turning to his right, he was trying to show his damn badge.
Right.
That he was a cop.
That's right.
Which they said that he never had. He kept his badge on him.
In the glove compartment, rolled up in a sock.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was a rookie. When you was a rookie, you don't never, ever, you wear it because you're so proud to have that badge. You don't roll your badge up in those socks. You carry it with you all the time.
That's right.
So that was when I heard that narrative, I knew it was BS.
Yeah, exactly. And Stan, because I want to bring Kenny in, because
let me say one more thing.
Okay.
The other thing about it is our department, his gun was discharged. In our policy and procedures, if a gun is discharged, because I was on the homicide unit then, the homicide unit from Mount Vernon was supposed to be a part of that investigation. Our administration denied us the opportunity because me and George wanted to go down there. They told us we couldn't go. So they violated their own policy and procedures, because if that handgun, we were supposed to be a part of that investigation.
Well, I was also told that Duncan was supposed to go up there, and that Sean called her up. So
I don't think Duncan wasn't. It was Pizzuti. Pizzuti, wasn't it?
I don't remember, man.
No.
It was Chong and Pizzuti. That was 2008.
Yeah, and where's Pizzuti today?
I don't know where he's at.
Can I ask a question real quick? So, Mitch, are you saying that you were denied the chance to be in that investigation by Chong, who then became the White Placer Commissioner?
By who? I don't recall who was the commissioner. I think it was Chong because I wasn't. Yeah, it was Chong.
No, Chong was the commissioner.
Right. I was denied. We were denied. The homicide unit was denied the opportunity to be a part of that investigation. They said the county and whatchamacallit, which we felt that we all should have been a part of it. Not denying any of them, but his gun was discharged. In our policy and procedures, it says if an officer's gun, the investigating unit from the detective division will investigate that. And usually it's the homicide unit.
Well, that could be twofold, Mitch, because if it did or if it didn't, you didn't have an opportunity to find out.
Nope.
Because in the when the investigation came out, and my godfather asked the question, so what were the ballistics for Christopher and Robin Martin? They said it's still under investigation. They're outside tearing up the grounds looking for.
Part of the reason they heard gunshots because the suspect had fired off a shot.
From where?
When he was wrestling with Chris with the gun, a shot went off. That was what I was told.
Well, why is there no video of that? And even when they tried to show from a different angle of the dude, the guy that was he was a consultant for the county, and they showed two different angles, but those angles don't clearly show what happened. Right. And there's other cameras. There's other cameras in there that they took down.
Part of the problem I had with it is just like the Henry case. You had people that used words. They twisted the words of truth.
That's right.
The DJ Henry was another case. Fortunately, that officer from that department said no, he was shooting at the other guy. But a lot of that, he was shooting at the cop because he thought the cop was a bad guy jumping on the car.
Yes, right.
The district attorney's office made it sound one way. So, there was a lot of things underneath that administration that was De Fiore, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah. All those cases are under her. And and it's just so unfortunate that now she's the chief justice of
the appeals court.
Now, so if we had to appeal this and bring this back, we got to go through her.
Right.
To cover up the.
see, this is where it gets. This is where we get. Is the process actually for the people? But before I bring in Kenny, we have to put this on record, Stan. We have to put this on record. So when I was putting fire to Janet DeFiore's ass about the killing of Chris, didn't they try to get you when these Negroes, and I'm going to say it, when these Negroes had that press conference, when that mailer was sent out about her, when Sam Zerka sent out the mailer, like they think I was going to spend all that money to send a mailer out to all the voters in Westchester County on a correction officer salary. Y'all crazy. But when that mailer was sent out and it had me on the other side, it had Chris on one side talking about Janet DeFiore, and they had a press conference about that, right? And you had all them black preachers standing, and I'm gonna say it again, see, because sometimes y'all black pastors really show who you are.
Right.
When y'all was standing with her from Mount Vernon, standing with Janet DeFiore, to denounce the mailer about what she did to Chris. Didn't they try to get you to go there and speak out against me, Stan?
Yeah, they don't know what somebody. To go back a little bit, gang. Somebody told me that they asked Reverend Richardson who can control him. And Reverend Richardson said, nobody. He's his own man.
Right.
He don't.
Right.
I'm his boss, and he don't take orders from me.
Right.
You can't sell me out, man. You. As much as that guy down there, wherever resort he is on, Anthony Mitchell, we grew up together, Doc. we grew up together.
That's right.
Okay. If I say you my friend, you my friend. If I got a problem with you, I'm gonna come to you. I'm gonna have a conversation with you, and whatever's gonna happen is going to happen. You know. But those are my friends. You can't sell me out, Doc. I'm not buying. Nobody. I can't do it. I'm not ever gonna do it. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die, and I know it's gonna be soon because guess what? There's gonna be a lot of people mad at me. I don't give a fuck now.
Right.
Right.
Well, that's why Governor Patterson started that police on police task force, police on police shooting task force. Remember that, right, Dan?
Yeah, but I mean, then nobody. I mean, it was a great report, as so many reports, you know,
Right.
before that.
I got a comment from a viewer right now, Stephanie Swan. She said, I was there that day when it went down. I asked her, were you? Did you witness it? She said, I just walked past 85 Court Street, crossing over Martine Avenue. I was trying to get out the way because the county police was coming out of the county building with guns pulled. She said she didn't actually physically witness because she went into the beauty supply store for cover, but it was chaos that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were AJ. There was so many people over the 12 years. I met so many people that was like, I was there, Mr. Ridley. I've seen it. And they went to go talk about it, and they couldn't. They weren't allowed to.
Yeah.
You know, Anthony Mitchell just came across a few, but they were not allowed to go. I mean, there's people that were in the homeless shelter when this boy said what he was going to do that day.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a
So
letter that we were at a press conference one day. I don't know if you were there, and everywhere I went, this guy kept following me, and my godfather in the background, he's looking, so he runs up on him, and the guy gives a letter to my godfather stating that boy said that he was going to do what he was going to do, not kill Chris, but somebody. Mm-hmm. And he jumped on an old lady, and the Spanish kid that they keep arresting, I don't know where he is, but I have his name written down in places, but he came to me and he told me that he intervened and helped the lady out, and then he jumped on another guy, and they kept arresting that guy. But there's a lot of people that come to me over the years. There was a lady on the bus because she was in a wheelchair and couldn't run like everybody else or lay down like everybody else, and she was a good friend with my neighbor. She wouldn't go testify.
Yeah.
She would not go testify.
There was a lot of people, and the thing is, the way White Plains did the investigation, they could have got a lot of help from outside agencies, but it seemed like they wanted to keep it real amongst themselves, even though there was legitimate information to follow up on. They didn't, because they never even called me. They was like, well, you bring these witnesses. When those two witnesses didn't come in and testify, you would think that they would try and reach out. They never reached out. They never reached out to find out if they could get them to come back in or anything. I was surprised with that. If this is part of a major investigation such as this, these witnesses, to me, they're paramount in an investigation of that nature. And unfortunately, it didn't seem like White Plains was interested because it kind of didn't fit their narrative.
Mitchell, if I knew then during the trial what I know now, it was so badly, such a bad cover-up because of our family met and throughout Westchester.
Right.
The judge was helping the attorneys out because the attorneys weren't doing it and saying the right thing to the jury, and the judge is telling them, y'all have to forget what she said. And I'm like, why should they forget that?
Right. Right.
And she goes to the lawyer, tell your client that he has to stop shouting out in court, else we're gonna hold him in contempt of court. I said, well, lady, you might as well hold me in a contempt of court because guess what? You're helping them out. and you're supposed to be a judge that's biased.
Non-biased, that's right.
Yeah.
So-
Go ahead,
I
Stan.
want to bring Kenny into the conversation. Too, when the killing of his father, who was also in law enforcement, although some people don't think corrections is law enforcement for whatever apparent reason, but he also had dealings with Chong was the commissioner at the time, Janet DeFiore was the DA at the time, and his father was killed by the White Plains Police Department, and he's also still fighting for justice. And again, like I said, we can talk about George Floyd and all the myriad of other people, but we have to fight for those who have lost their lives at the hands of the police in Westchester. Kenny.
What's going on, brother?
What's going on, Kenny?
How's everybody doing?
What's happening, brother? We just
No,
shine that head up today.
I'm tired, brother. I just got back into town, but you know, I rushed to try to get on this this Zoom. You know.
I'm on vacation, but I'm taking a minute off real quick.
You know, so but I mean, where you want me to begin? I mean, where do I begin? November 19th, 2011, when they killed my father. How they said that he posed an imminent threat to life or well-being, how Commissioner Chong, before even conducting an investigation, said that the shooting was justified, using keywords that law enforcement use. You know, they fired an electronic taser, it had no effect. They then fired a beanbag shotgun. No, as the officers retreated, they then fired a beanbag shotgun and then fired live ammunition, shooting and killing my father. This is why it's so important that families put their narrative out there, because the city is going to put their narrative out there. They're going to say what, they're going to give their version of what happened. And this is why we have to go to civil court, because on a local level, you won't know what was presented to the grand jury. You won't know if all the evidence is in there, but then somehow, whenever you get to the civil level, you always find things out that you didn't know on a local level. For instance, that the medical examiner said that the knife that my father was holding in his hand, the skin cells didn't match his. The fact that the bullet entered 4.5 inches below his shoulder, which proves his arm had to be down by his side, because if it wasn't, if his arm was raised, it would have hit him under the arm. So we never found out whose skin cells were on the knife. The judge at the time in civil court tried to say that maybe my father had his arms down by his side, but had the knife facing the officer and was rushing towards him with the knife. I've never in my life seen anybody rush anyone with a knife that way. So I just made sure this entire time they put their narrative out there. I'll tell my version of it. And I challenge them all the way. Yes.
How long did your father was a Marine? So he was trained. He was trained to be the best, as you know, in armed forces. And the way he was coming at them with the knife, they were saying that he could have, because I'm quite sure that your dad probably could have, you know, did without the knife. From what I know about their training, you know. So did they make this up, or is it true that he had a knife in his hand?
Well, like I tell people, in the beginning, when they have the camera on, you do see him stick something out the door, but they take it from him. So when you take the door down, I don't see a knife in his hand with the video from the taser. I just see his hands down to his side. He has on boxer shorts and a t-shirt or tank top. I don't see any weapon. Officer Anthony Corelli fires 2 shots and claims that he fired center mass, but there was a shot 16 inches from the floor. You're part of a specialized unit, and you mean to tell me that you fired 2 shots center mass and 1 is 16 inches from the floor? That doesn't even make sense.
But I'm gonna say this, Kenny. What bothers me, even more than that, they were there on a distress call. They wasn't there for a crime.
Correct.
You know, that's the part. Every time I hear about your father, it just bugs me out. It was a distress. Why would you even be, you know?
But Mitch, in all these cases, how do you go out on one call that has nothing to do? The call didn't even come out. Oh, somebody had a gun. There was violence, or none of that. DJ Henry, they were going to break up a party.
Yep.
His father, they were going to a distress call. You know, how do people end up dead? Floyd, Christopher, Floyd, it was a $20 bill. How do people end up dead, man? Behind stuff like this, the original call.
What bothers me is, and I want to keep saying this because they keep talking about a lot of stuff. These white people, like the guy who went down in the South Carolina church, prayed with the people, shot 9 of them. He was apprehended, arrested, and is in jail. Violent white criminals with guns are arrested and go to jail.
But isn't that the one that took the Burger King?
Black people are getting killed for nothing.
Which one did they take the Burger King after he killed?
The guy in South Carolina that showed up the 9 people, and they took him to Burger King on the way to the police station because he was hungry.
Not even that, man. Mitch. Oh,
Did he freeze? He was frozen for a minute.
Okay, not even that. What we're looking at here, and for the listeners to listen to, you have right here in front of you, you have a former Marine, a retired correction officer. You have family of a police detective.
Off duty. Right.
Both of them were killed by police, and both of the investigations was compromised by the police department investigating it and the district attorney's office. What I'm saying is that people have to wake up. One of the biggest criminal, corrupt institutions in Westchester is our justice system.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Is our justice system. Let's call it what it is. And part of the problem is the people that we put in charge, Black people, are enablers of white supremacy through this justice system in Westchester County. Let's call it what it is. Let's call it what it is. What they did to Stan and his family. You should be ashamed of yourself, Black pastors and Black politicians. What you allowed to happen when you had the chance to make it right in the Kenneth Chamberlain shooting, you allowed it to happen again. Black politicians, Black pastors, Black leaders. When are we going to get this right?
But you know, for the most part of it, Damon, these are people that don't have criminal records. They're not criminals. They were a part of society, raising kids, raising people to do the right thing. You yourself, Mitchell, you know, came up in Westchester. For people to have to continue, y'all don't believe what we say?
No, they don't.
Not a criminal.
No,
Never been in jail.
Yo, dude, it's not even the fact that they don't believe what we say, but what we say upsets the structure of things.
Absolutely.
Right? What we say upsets the structure. See, right now they're forced to address the structure because businesses were burning down and people were in the street. But before that, it was business as usual.
Yeah, because they use that they use Chris as a step up.
Yeah, a lot of them in Chris' case, they sold you out and got and stepped up to high positions.
Everybody. There's a young man that sings in the choir at the church, went somewhere to go sing, and he was whoever put the show together put him in front of what was the last God, what's her name? The last district attorney.
Janet
DiFiore. He put her in, she introduced her to DiFiore. So she said, I heard you're a great singer. He said, yeah. He said, but you heard me sing before. And she said, well, where? She said, at Grace Baptist Church. He said, oh, my friend Reverend Richardson. And he said, yeah, that's where you heard me. And the next thing came out her mouth was, how did that case go with the young man that went to that church because Janet DiFiore fucked it up? In those words.
Exactly. Yo, Kenny.
Those words.
I want you to talk about, man, the letter.
Use my language.
That concerned residents and organizations in Westchester will be sending to the New York State Attorney General.
So first, we're having a rally this coming Friday, July 10th, in front of the Westchester County Courthouse, honoring Black Lives Lost. The underlying theme is Westchester County has its own George Floyd.
Right.
And we will have family members of those who have been impacted by police violence speaking. You will have the family of Jonathan Maldonado, DJ Henry, Detective Christopher Ridley, myself, and potentially 2 other families. I'm not sure. I've also reached out to the family of Kamal Flowers to see if I could get someone from his family to come speak as well. It's hard sometimes to get families to come out and say something because many of them are still hurting. I, myself included, I'm still hurting as well. But I would say that my pain has turned to passion and I understand the bigger issue. So I am just trying to be that voice for those who can't, voice what it is that they want to say. I've told family members, I don't care if you just go up there and say your loved one's name and tears begin to fall out your eyes. That's perfectly all right. Because that's just you expressing it. But I think that it's very important that the people of Westchester County hear your story from your mouth, talking about the events that led up to your loved one's death. Because there's information that local government is not going to tell you. So what we are doing right now is I am in the process of finishing up this letter. And this letter is going to the New York State Attorney General, Tish James. It will be on her desk Thursday night because we're having the rally Friday morning. And we are demanding, not asking, demanding that all of the cases in Westchester County in which people have died at the hands of police, from Janine Pirro's watch all the way up to Anthony Scarpino, be investigated. because we know that crucial evidence and testimony was not always presented in the grand jury. So we don't feel that these cases were really prosecuted correctly. So that letter we should have that letter finished by Tuesday. I will send it out to the stakeholders, but many of those who are co-sponsors of the event for Friday. And once they sign on, we will then overnight that letter to the New York State Attorney General. You know, we're looking and we see that these laws, you know, these bills have been signed into laws. Bills that were, you know, these bills that were signed into law were once policies for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And they were violating those policies then. And they're even violating these laws now.
Exactly.
So all I'm saying to the New York State Attorney General, who I have no beef with, not yet anyway, not yet, okay? And I won't as long as you do your job. I voted for you. And I'm going to say I voted for you because, not because you are a Black woman, I voted for you because I believe that you will go in here and you will do the job. So I hope that you will not give us the runaround. You will not say, oh, those were cases in the past, that we can't look at them, because you can do what you want. They used to say, oh, you can't fire a police officer right away. But after this George Floyd situation, police officers getting fired.
Exactly.
And then they're dealing with the unions to try to get reinstated or whatever the case may be. So we have this letter, we're presenting it, and I'm just hoping that we have a great turnout. I'm hoping that the families will come out. I'm hoping the families will speak. I know that it's very difficult. It's difficult for me too. You know, when I'm standing up there and you have to relive how your loved one was killed or stolen from you, it's very hard. Because like I tell people, we're going on 9 years now since my father's been killed, and I have not mourned my father's death because I've been fighting from the very first day to get justice or get accountability in his killing. Because I can't say justice because I don't know what justice looks like.
Well, Damon, Kenneth, it's been the same way with myself. I mean, coming out the gate, it was so. I'm fighting so many people, law enforcement, people that I know, his mother. You know, I had such a, you know, I still haven't mourned for my son. I still haven't mourned or been there as much as I would love to. Every time I look out and I see you standing there, and I'm saying to myself, this brother has been supporting me for so long. And I know that when you're not around, you're still supporting. And I try to do as much as I can. But I never wanted this to happen to anybody else again, and still feel that way. I still feel that way. Now, every time somebody gets killed, a Black man gets killed, it comes back to me, and I'm crying in tears, and I'm trying to figure it out, and nobody has heard yet.
So
nobody in this county understands what we're going through.
So let me just say this. Here's my problem with leadership in this county. I remember having a conversation with Reverend Richardson at the National Action Network conference. And I said to him, oh, I know you. And he said, yes. I said, I want to ask you a question. And he said, what's that? I said, you're the one that denounced the killing of Detective Christopher Ridley. Said yes. I said, so I have a question for you. I said, Chris was killed what? I said in 2008? He said yes. I said, and when they came back with no true bill, you were outraged. You want an independent prosecutor to look in to possible civil rights violations, et cetera, et cetera. He said, correct. I said, but in 2009, you endorsed this same DA on the steps of your church. What is the difference? What happened in that short span of time that you would endorse this woman after it's clear that she did not investigate this case correctly? And his response was, oh, well, we never, the black clergy doesn't just endorse or not endorse a candidate based on one thing. But that's one big thing.
Exactly.
And I thought that there's supposed to be separation from church and state. Meaning that why are these elected officials running to the churches during election time? So that is my problem. I went to the United Black Clergy and asked for help. And at that time, it was under Bishop Edwards. He was the president. And the first thing he said was, the problem with black people is you have no plan. And we had a plan of action on a piece of paper that we sat on his desk. He never bothered to look it up or look at it, but was more concerned about who the woman was that was with me as she was walking to the door. All right, let's just be honest. And that's not a lie, because Damon, you was there, Mitch was there, Mayo was there, Bart was there. So many people were in that room. So fast forward to now. This past Father's Day, you have a protest, a rally, and a march in the city of White Plains. You start from Calvary Baptist Church, you walk up Post Road to Martin Luther King, you walk down Martin Luther King, you stop at the courthouse, you kneel for over 8 minutes, then you proceed to walk down the main street, make a right, go up Court Street, and now you have a White Plains rec stage there. As you're marching, you're saying, if we don't get justice, we're going to shut it down. But the city of White Plains already shut it down because they were working in conjunction with you. You have families that are affected. And I know from people who are on the committee, it said, when they were talking about speakers, they said you need to have Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. as one of the speakers. And not once did they reach out to me. Not once did they ask me to speak. I lost my father. How appropriate would it be for me to speak on Father's Day? I lost my father in the city of White Plains. How appropriate would it be for me to speak? But you let Mayor Roach get up there and talk about his time as legal aid in the Bronx and what he did while he was legal aid in the Bronx. You would not about the fact that a man was killed under his watch and it took him 5 months to even acknowledge my family, or that they continue to fight me to this day. So this is my problem. I can count the number of black clergy who have supported me on one hand, and I still have fingers left. I had more white clergy sitting with me in that front seat in that courtroom than I had black. To me, that is a problem. And yet you run out there to all these other functions, or when other ethnicities have been disrespected, you're out there and you're standing in solidarity with them, but you don't even stand in solidarity with your own people, telling me to trust the process. No. As someone once famously said, and I have adopted this myself, we have to acknowledge the presence of the enemy, and we have to stop using the virtue of love and patience to hide a vice of cowardice. If you're scared, get a dog.
Yeah.
And it's just that simple.
Or take up the martial arts.
You know, because I'm going to speak. And for families who are standing there on Friday, if they can't speak, I will speak for them. And it's just that simple. So I'm gonna step off of here, but I wanted to get on real quick, say my little piece. Now I'm gonna go shut up and mind my business. And I will see you all on Friday at 6 p.m.
That's
in
right.
front of the Westchester County Courthouse. Please be there. You will be given action items. You will be told how to move forward. We are not just doing this just to say we did it. You will hear from families. You will be able to connect with those families, because families are not looking for sympathy. They're not looking for that. We want you to connect with us. We want you to understand why we're fighting, why we're out here. Because Detective Christopher Ridley could have been your son or your brother or
right.
just your friend.
Your nephew.
You yell justice for George Floyd, you better yell justice for Detective Christopher Ridley. When you
Exactly.
yell justice for Breonna Taylor, you better yell justice for Jonathan Maldonado, for Raynette Turner, for Kenneth Chamberlain Sr., for Christopher Malone. You better yell that and say those names the same way you say these other names.
Because they were right in your backyard.
Correct.
Exactly.
And when you judge or condemn someone, you stand to be judged or condemned by that same standard. So we need to pick up Westchester.
Oh, dude.
We need to do better. All right, let's do that. And New York State Attorney General Tish James, look for my letter. It's coming, and it's not just my signature. It's
there's a lot of signatures.
Westchester County, okay, community organizations. So don't just tell us no, you can't look at these cases. Take a second look. And we're talking from 1994 up into 2020. So put your unit together. Let's do it. Gentlemen, in the words of Ron Cornelius, I wish you love, peace, and
yo, talk to you later, man.
Real quick, I wanted to say real quick. So everybody, if you hear from anybody else, let them know this will be on Black Westchester later, because I'm sharing it to people through text message, and I'm getting calls that Facebook is not letting me share it. It's saying the content is not available or something like that. I just got 2 calls, one from Mayor Sean Patterson Howard and others, saying that it's not letting you share it on. So we're not. So if anybody missed this and anybody heard about this, this will be on Black Westchester. Share the video now if you're watching it, and try to share it on your Facebook page, and it will be posted later. I wanted to get back to, I wanted to say something to Stan. Now I know they, I guess the word is honored your son with a statue. And while that has never happened to any other of the officers that have been, Black officers that have been killed at the hands of white officers, and that is something you would rather have let me ask you, you'd rather have justice for the people who killed your son than that statue. Am I right? I mean, that's just, let you speak on that.
I'd rather have my son.
Right. I'm sorry. That's what I should have said.
I'd rather have my son. That statue memorial site is there because a lot of people turn their backs on him.
Yeah.
And I pushed to have that because I want people to remember. There are people in those county buildings that don't even remember what happened. As Damon can tell you, we've gone to the county legislators and they was like, what? Who? When? Right outside your door. No, right outside, downstairs on the sidewalk.
Yep.
This happened. Okay. And you guys don't know what, the media is I'm so pissed that News 12, there's a couple of people, a guy named Connie Bear, he assassinated Christopher's character. And I always tell people, I said, but what he did to Chris went on Chris's what was it, MySpace, or at their time before Facebook. MySpace. He went on that page, took a picture of Christopher with his hat turned backwards and said he was a thug cop. You know, I'm trying to figure out who they talking about, because I'm like, you know, this kid, Anthony seen him grow up, Damon seen him grow up. A lot of people see him grow up. You know, he ain't like his daddy. Mitchell could tell you that.
Nah,
you know,
he much better jump shot. Much
it's
better.
something. Well, he had to learn from somewhere. But anyway, so the things that they were trying to pin on him to assassinate his character to fit what they were trying to get done. Any incident that happened with a black kid, a black man, they tried to assassinate them.
Yes, they do.
In the media, they tried to assassinate this kid, and he's the most calm kid. Mitch, I don't know if you remember one time the officer called up, because he lived down in Jersey, called up and said Christopher cursed him out. And I was like, that he don't curse. He don't curse.
That ain't
Come on,
him.
Doc. That's not his character.
Mm-mm.
You know.
Never been.
So you know, so I had to put that there. And if you look on the back of it, you'll see I Rise by Maya Angelou, is because that's what has to happen. You know, because we can't have this. And as we go on, and I'm sure Kenneth can feel the same thing, you know, when people's children, fathers are dying, young black men are dying, nephews, fathers, brothers are dying, Doc, getting killed by police officers.
Okay.
So that statue is going to stay there. And that statue represents that statue represents justice. That statue represents a person that was trying to save lives in the community. That ain't these statues that they got around here pulling down that didn't do jack nothing that they claim they did, that are slave owners, and they got all these statues up here. That statue right there represents a lot.
Right.
Of a hero. Right. You want to talk about a true hero? That's a hero right there.
That's right. That's right.
He did something. My son died for this, for people in this county that they don't recognize that. Okay, that's right. I'm here to tell you.
I have a quick comment from Joe Murray. He is the attorney that represents the whistleblower cop in Mount Vernon Police Department. He said, I can't imagine the pain Mr. Ridley and Mr. Chamberlain are experiencing, and my heart goes out to them and their families. I may not agree on all these policing issues, but I want to express my most sincere sympathy, and I'm also interested in learning more about these cases. That was from Joe Murray. He's an attorney. He's been on our show a few times. He's representing the officer that reported a bunch of. He did what we want good cops. You say good cops to tell on bad cops. He did that, and he got retaliated against. And,
yeah.
And
so, I know that cop personally. He worked underneath me in narcotics, and he's a stand-up guy. He was one of my best detectives when we were doing narcotics. He hadn't gotten his shield yet, but he was, as an officer, he was one of my best detectives in that narcotics unit before I got into it.
And I want to just say what Stan was talking about. One of the main reasons, one of the inspiring reasons for Damon and I starting Black Westchester was to change the narrative of the portrayal of Black men in the media. Because of situations like this, the character assassin of the victim, and just how they portray us across the board in the media. You know what I'm saying? There was a need for Black media to help change the narrative, and that's why that's one of the driving forces to even starting this.
AJ, let me say something. In America, everybody on here don't have a criminal record. All right, they have done us so bad that as soon as they see a Black person, you can't possibly be a police officer. You cannot possibly done those amount of years as a police officer, Anthony Mitchell. You could have not done what you have done, Damon, time after time after time after time, going to families rescue and also work up in the county jail.
Yeah.
Okay, and they keep attacking you.
You
For
know,
me to bring a son up through this, I've never been in jail. Could have been, but never been in jail. Don't have a record. Okay, and raise a son like you're supposed to raise a son to do good, and you put him in the community, and look what y'all do, and then y'all turn y'all back on him.
Yeah.
Turn your back.
It amazed.
But you'll run the court. But you'll run the court to go defend Mama Jones's son that got a record as long as my arm.
Right. You know, but even in the department, the support for Chris has not been there like it has been for other officers that have never sacrificed as much as he has. That's the thing that bothers me. He worked in Mount Vernon. He was killed unjustly. He was wrong, and the leadership in the department. I can't speak on this leadership because they only just been there, but they have not supported in the past like they should have been supported.
No, not at all, Doc. I went when what's the police officer on top of the building, Mitch?
Oh, Vice.
Danny Vice. Danny Vice was Christopher's friend.
Right.
And we did an event for Christopher, and Danny Vice came, and Danny Vice kept, I didn't even know who he was, and he kept saying, Mr. Ridley, anything you need, give me a call, anything you need, call, and here's my number. I'm like, who's this kid? Okay, well, I gave it to me, fine. When I found out that he killed himself, and I go to the funeral, and I saw two officers up there, two white shirts, what y'all call them, and it got back to me that they said, wow, why was he up here?
Yeah.
Danny Byers' father told me that Christopher has been at his house. Him and Danny were good friends. And Christopher was up, and he thanked me for coming to his son's funeral.
Yeah.
So as a black person, you can't be.
I bet you didn't see those same white shirts at any of Christopher's functions.
Not at all.
Not at all. That's where it starts at. It starts with the leadership in Mount. Christopher, every person in leadership in Mount Vernon should have been supporting anything that you've done when it came to your son, because he was our son. And they should have all been there, and that would have made the rest of those officers. The leadership did not do right by Christopher after he perished. Unfortunately, due to
but Mitchell, they never did right by anybody because they didn't do right by you guys. They didn't do right by plenty of officers that came through here. And I can call some cases out. Remember Eddie Clark with that whole Miss Martin case.
I left out of there.
That's right.
They tried to bring me up on departmental charges for something that was so felonious. They called me the day of my surgery to tell me you're under investigation. I couldn't believe they did that.
No,
and they come to find out it was a lie.
Well, Mitch, you can't be surprised.
No,
Look,
I'm not.
If we do not, my sister, two people had said it, and when my sister from St. Louis said it on a Penn State panel. First it was Dr. Damon Brown, but then when my sister Heather said it on the panel, it sunk in. If police culture, and this is what Dr. Brown said, and she said it the same way. Police culture eats policies, procedures for dinner, right?
Yes,
if we do not address the police culture, the racist, corrupt police culture, which eats black supervisors for dinner.
Yep.
Right? It don't matter if you have a black commissioner. It doesn't matter if you have a black chief. a black lieutenant, a black sergeant. If we do not have people in those positions that are going to push back on the police culture,
The right people.
Not even the white people. Look,
I said the right
people. Absolutely.
You can be you could be in our tribe and still be wrong.
Absolutely. And this is what we're seeing when it comes to pushing back on the police culture. See, and this is my problem with a lot of politicians, right? Because they pick people and put them in positions that are wrong for addressing the police culture.
That's right.
And that's the key, because if you came up under this criminal justice system, if you're taught under this criminal justice system in these colleges, and you're not taught from a community advancement position in law enforcement, you are a slave to the goddamn culture.
Well, let's say
and that's why nothing changes, even when we have black people in those positions, because they are still slaves to the police culture. But we don't get that yet, and we still don't get it.
No, because
look at some people that they appoint.
And you're right, because when we tried to make the change in this town, and Mount Vernon, we tried to make the change, and all of y'all can contest to this. When oh God, what was the commissioner, Mitch?
For who?
Our friend, huh?
Which
Not
Huh?
Raymond.
No,
Bell?
not Raynard, but
Bell?
Raynard too. But Raynard is one help. Bell, when Bell came here with so much experience, after his experience that he had in New York City, but was a victim here in Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
After leaving Mitchell myself.
Yeah. He was leaving us, walking home.
Not once, but twice.
Yeah. By Mount Vernon Police when he was young, when he was about 15, 16 years old.
And become the commissioner, and that person is still there. So you tell me how many years that was, and they didn't even remember.
But you know what? One of the most important
culture.
It's the culture and it's the leadership. One of the things that I found in my time throughout this department in Mount Vernon, when you have good leadership, our leaders, not good leadership, when we have leadership in place, and I'm talking about the administrations that have been there, they tend not to understand that Mount Vernon is a unique city. So you need, it's the only city in the state of New York where the majority of the population is minority. It's the only city like that. So you have to craft, whatever you do, you have to do a true assessment of the city and craft a program or whatever you're going to do to fit Mount Vernon. You can't take what you did in Yonkers and use in Mount Vernon. You can't take what you did in Scarsdale and use in Mount Vernon. You can't take White Plains. You can't take New York City. Mount Vernon is unique because of the population and the different cultures that are there. So what frustrates me is when you find people that have those abilities, that have worked in that type of environment, and you do not allow them to come in because you're worried about what everybody else is saying about it. It frustrates me when you got perfect people, and just because this one person that doesn't understand the culture. But look, you want to address the issues in Mount Vernon, you got to have people that know the people, that understand the people. You're not going to get it with somebody from Yonkers or White Plains or New York City that has not been in that type of environment. And I'm just frustrated with our leadership because they apparently don't see that, or either that or they're being brought. One or the other. I hate to point it out, but it is what it is. Like, you got to start fitting things to fit Mount Vernon and stop worrying about what people say, because no matter what you do, they're going to talk about you because you're black.
That's right. And they talked about you, and they talked about Damon. When every time you try to make the change, you put people in place, things don't work out. So let's our next move,
They tried to jam me up in jobs. But my civilian record, I have no civilian complaints. I did my job. I worked homicide. I worked narcotics. I worked gangs, youth, intel, mayor security detail. So
Well,
there's not a lot that they
the problem that you had right along with Arlette, George, anybody else that was born and raised in Mount Vernon is that they didn't want you guys there in the first place.
They didn't.
They didn't want you guys there in the first place because y'all could get stuff done, which they didn't want. They wanted to do what they wanted, what they got going on now. That's what they wanted in the beginning. They didn't want you, Mount Vernonite, that can walk outside with no gun, okay,
and resolve it
and resolve stuff and get stuff done with no gun.
No,
because you can go to somebody's house and talk to their father and talk to their grandfather and you have respect in the streets.
But that goes back. That's
police community. That's community policing, right?
No,
Exactly.
Wait, hold on. That goes back to the culture, right? It goes back to the culture because we have allowed the culture itself. Having police, first of all, community policing is not what you see today, right? Nope. Community, that's it. Professor Bell, Professor Jimmy Bell from Jackson State University, it was called extended community policing. The police stole it and called it community policing. First of all, when you're talking about the original form of community policing is looking at the systems, looking at the systems, and as Mitch said, each community will be different because when you're looking at systems in a community, what systems work, what systems don't work, what institutions work, and what institutions don't work, and how the police respond to those institutions, right? Second, you can't have community policing without having police living in the goddamn community.
Hello.
Yeah.
Right? You can't have it, right?
But tell me how you attack everybody. Though I don't know one person they haven't attacked. I don't remember when David Clark they jumped on David Clark about
because
gang. They jumped on him about gang that he was a gang member.
Right, but Stan, these are black leaders and black politicians that allowed that when they put these people in charge to go after people that spoke out against the system. We are our worst enemies. We are enablers of racism in our own communities that we control, not just Mount Vernon, but also all over the United States.
Let me say this: when Bell left and they put Burke in charge, he comes out with a statement. Now we got all this black leadership and said there were officers that were involved in the gang. Now it could only be black officers. No proof, no nothing. Said there were at least 7 officers involved. It was in the paper that were involved with gangs. And I could not believe that he came out and nobody, not the mayor, at the time it was Ernie, not city council, not the assemblyman, not the legislator, nobody stood up and said, well, before you say something like that, you need to show the proof. And then it just goes away.
But what did the black officers do? Sit in my living room and complain. Sit in my fucking living room and complain. But when it was time for them to step up and rebuke that, not one of them wanted to speak. So they get what they deserve because they sat there worried about where they were posted, worried about whether they were going to get overtime, worried about they going to get a detective shield. That's what black officers do. Not just in Mount Vernon, but all over. So we get what we deserve because we punk out every time. It's time to stand up. We don't.
When that came out, I went to city council and lit it up. And I heard nothing. Nobody wanted to say anything except stuff. He should have been ordered to retract that statement until he has some type of proof.
And you're absolutely right. But nobody said anything. Nope. And when the mayor wasn't going to say nothing, the city council wasn't going to say nothing. It was up to the black officers to step up together and say something, and nobody did. As usual, it happens in corrections. It happens in NYPD. It happens everywhere. Black courts, black probation, whatever you get, black officers punk out because they're scared of the culture. And I'm going to say it. And you know what? If y'all say you're not scared, then where the hell are y'all? Because I'm usually standing by my goddamn self.
That's right.
I'm usually standing by myself, or I gotta get black officers from New York City to come up and stand with me because the black officers in Westchester are too goddamn scared. They're too scared.
Either that or they coming from DC and all over the other.
Exactly. And look what happened to Montika. Where the fuck was the black officers with her? So you got black officers with guns scared of a goddamn garbage man.
Yeah.
A fat one at that. You gotta be fucking kidding me, bro. Like we are our worst enemies.
Let me tell you something.
So miss me with all this George Floyd, Black Lives Matter stuff. It's important, but the record of how black officers act, it's horrendous. It's really horrendous.
I'm so happy that the Lord didn't have Stevie around when my son died, because I wouldn't be here. Because I wouldn't stand for that shit that he's doing. Nor the person that was backing him would have stand for none of that shit, man. I don't give a hoot. You know, not knowing that my son put himself his self on the line. He's put his life on the line, doc. He got killed. And none of y'all don't care.
No, man, and no, because you know why? Because everybody's worried about what they get, right?
Yes,
everybody's
No,
worried
what they got.
about what they get.
What they got. Because if I looked around and read the list out to you of how many people gone, by 2010, everybody was gone. Before the smoke cleared, everybody was gone, doc. Got positions over here. Some people went down south, get positions. Okay.
Listen, look, and I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. I only got 3 years left, right? I'm going to say it. And if people don't, if black officers don't get their shit together, right? Westchester County, you're going to have a hard time moving forward. Because look, if these politicians don't make the necessary changes now that the heat is on and to push for change, if there's no change, if no change is going to happen now, it's going to be over. County police does not have one black supervisor other than the deputy commissioner. Right? And they have two Latino supervisors. Two Latino. One's getting ready. One I was told is getting ready to retire. My brother Henry, right? And then you got the Latino. You got the Latino lieutenant that he's been passed over so many goddamn times. It's horrendous. It's horrendous. And then the unions don't help black officers out, even if you have a black union president. It really doesn't mean anything because the culture eats them too.
That's right.
The culture eats them too. And what black officers really need to do is leave these goddamn unions and start their own union.
Yes, sir.
Because these unions ain't good for you, even if you have a black union president.
Nope. Because these unions, especially the union in Mount Vernon, didn't do anything for the black officers.
Ain't do nothing for my wife. And I'll say it right here on record. If it wasn't for Charles Billups calling Steve Isaacs and making and putting it to him that he would have a hard time with that keeping that New York City contract.
That's right.
My wife would have probably they would have probably let my wife get fired.
Yeah.
I had to call New York City. But then somebody would have got hurt anyway, and I'd probably been locked up.
No.
But the whole thing is, dude, listen, we gotta change it because we're not. Listen, Mitch, when we first start talking all this stuff, everybody was patrol officers.
Yeah.
Then they get upstairs and do just as bad as the white ones that were upstairs. And I keep it 100.
They forget.
But Mitch, not only that, Damon, you talking about all these black groups that never did anything at all. I remember a lady before she passed away. Name was Jennifer Light. She called me one day. When the Henry boy died, she called me because she was with Hazel Dukes. The Hazel Dukes that's in charge of the NAACP.
Yeah.
She was with Hazel Dukes, and Hazel Dukes said she was very upset with the Westchester chapter of the NAACP because they did nothing in the Detective Christopher Ridley case.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. As with all the other little social groups that they have around here. For social,
all of them turned their back. You didn't hear nothing. It was only Damon, myself.
I can count.
Kenneth.
I can count, Doc. That is still there. I can count.
They knocked me. Matter of fact, behind that, Barbara Duncan was the chief. She took me off the homicide group. No explanation. It wasn't a demotion. That's the nice way of putting it. But I was in the middle of solving crimes in Mount Vernon with a lot of success, and you remove a detective because of your own personal views. And then she went and left when Bell came in to go to Maryland because she couldn't stand to be underneath a black leadership, I guess.
No. She left because Bell was gonna put her ass in jail.
Doc.
That's what. Listen, let's tell the truth. She got up out of there because Bell was like, either you retire or you're gonna get cuffs on because I could go back and all the other stuff that she let happen.
Mitch, I don't know if you remember one day myself, my godfather, and they're all frat brothers of yours.
Right.
One of the deacons walked into Bell's office. They had an appointment to go to lunch.
Uh-huh.
So they're all frat brothers, right? So we come upstairs and Duncan and all the white shirts, none but white people was in an office. And they saw us come and they looked and they barely was like, "How you doing, Mr. Ridley?" And they all went to the office. I came back out and someone said, "Stan, they want to know why you were in the office talking to Bell." And from that day on, they started disbanding. I mean, they left the department like I've never seen.
Yep.
No, they were like roaches with the light cut on.
That's right.
There's a response, and I want to read this because I want to respond to what Joseph Murray is saying, and Mitch. Joe Murray says, I would like to ask your guests if they know John Campbell and what they think of him privately, because I fear due to the NYNC story, he may be getting fired. I think that is a huge mistake, and I want to try to help this officer. And he gives his cell. Mitch, we put it in, and I'll send it to you, Mitch. I want to respond to that.
Right.
Hold on. Who's John Campbell, first of all?
John Campbell is a story that.
Well, there's a whistleblower cop who exposed a bunch of stuff. One of the people he talked to was John Campbell, who admitted that he was kind of ordered to give a drug dealer back his drugs after he had arrested him and other things. Because he did that and he came out and he's in the tapes, the lawyer for Bovell is saying that he may be getting fired and he wants to help him. And he wanted to hear Mitch and Damon speak about, like, what do they think about John Campbell if they knew him?
I don't think John Campbell can be fired. That's number one, because he was taking a directive of a supervisor, right? Because if you give an order, right, you have the right to refuse or you can do the order.
Right.
But I don't think he can be fired because number one, you ain't fired nobody else.
I don't think you can find him without.
And Antonini is still working, from my understanding. So how you gonna fire Campbell and not fire Antonini
without firing the supervisor that gave the
and the supervisor need to be fired. So if you're gonna fire somebody, you got to fire that supervisor and his supervisor too. Because trust me, somebody else knew it was going down, and the way these tapes are coming out, the whole police department knew. So you got a problem there. You have a real problem with that.
Let me say this, Dane, and this goes back to the leadership. I remember when I was working in Intel, and we had to read these reports,
And I went to a supervisor and I told him, I said, there is no way that this guy that I know is a drug dealer is going to say, oh, by the way, I have coke in my pocket. There was like 3 or 4 reports with the guy admitting, you know, if you tell me now what you got in your pocket, it'll be easier on you. Oh, I have 3 or 4 rocks in my pocket. I'm selling.
Yeah,
That
okay.
ain't happening.
Good luck with that one.
I say this, show this to the suit. I said, something ain't right. I don't like the way this sounds. Because I know this guy. He ain't admitting the shit. You know what I'm saying? And they turn around and, oh, well, Mitch, you know, that's what they said happened.
I know him too.
Yeah,
The crazy thing about it is what Campo claims happened when he was arresting the guy on a quality of life crime.
Mm-hmm.
He said, hey, I got 40 rocks in my pocket. I need you to take them and hide them. He then talked to someone who told him to do it. So he took the 40 rocks and put it in the sock, took the person to the department. They processed him, gave him a DAT. He gave him the 40 rocks back on his way out the door. His boss said, did he have anything on it? He said, yes. He said, did you hide it for him and give it back to him? He said, yes. He said, job well done. He's on video, he's on tape saying this. There's a tape with me.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. How you gonna fire him and not fire the supervisor that knew he was doing it and that co-signed it? That's what I don't understand. Listen, look, this is how we settle.
Well, let me say this. Hold on, Dang. Before we go there, let's hope. Let's try and be positive and think that maybe the investigation is not complete, and maybe there will be someone going down. I'm trying to be positive here.
I'm just going on base of what Joe Murray said. That's
okay. What Campo said out of his own mouth on tape.
No. Well, that's not. Well, we're just talking about
him being fired. Yeah.
Right. Let's hope so. But here's the deal, man. Here's how you get shit done, right? Here's how you get shit done with accountability. Call the fucking feds. Let them come in.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, listen, all this stuff that they're doing, they're tiptoeing around the rosemary bush.
Yeah.
What they need to do, if they have true transparency, you want true transparency, call the Southern District of New York and tell them to come in and investigate.
That's right.
That's it. And Joe Murray said Campo is really another whistleblower and should be protected, and he can provide a lot of details of the intentional cover-up by Scarpino.
Exactly.
Whoa.
You see, but see, here's what Scarpino does, right? When you go to the feds, what the feds do, they reach out to the district attorney's office.
Right. That's right.
And then Scarpino would say, we're investigating when they're not.
Yep.
So that keeps the feds out.
Yep.
I'm so happy he lost. I'm so happy he lost. And it's good for Mount Vernon that he lost because something is going to get done. But in the meantime, if you want true transparency, just call the feds.
Yeah.
Just call the feds. Everybody, look, and everybody's hands are clean.
And since he, or for all intents and purposes, waiting for the last lost the election. Since he lost the election, he should not be able to stop anything from the feds coming in because he'll do whatever he got to do to cover his ass till January. So they should just be coming.
But at the end of the day, he's still a district attorney till December. So he can, and let me tell you, they're not going to, if he says we're investigating,
they're not going to do nothing.
Come in and do another investigation.
Well, Joe Murray said I reached out for communication with the SDNY chief assistant.
Good. But if it was me, that's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in leadership in Mount Vernon, which I'm not.
But they're never going to let that happen.
No, okay. Well, I mean, absolutely not. But the whole thing is, if it was me, I would I would tell them and request an investigation from the Southern District of New York.
He said,
because then your hands are clean, and it's an external, independent
right.
investigation.
So,
And
Mitch,
then it's not on anybody.
right.
No, nobody can blame. You can't get called anti-police.
Right.
You can't get called that you don't support the boys in blue. You can't get called all that. But as an official, you want a clear audit of the pattern and practices of your police department, and if they're up to snuff to what the Department of Justice says how police department should run. That's the best way to do it.
Absolutely.
The best way to do it to keep everybody
Right. Yeah.
So Joe Murray, the attorney said, according to Joe Murray, he said Scarpino told the FBI, Mitch, that there was nothing prosecutable. This is after getting all these tapes. Yet the SDNY asked me to provide the tapes to them as if they had never heard of them. How is that possible if Scarpino said there was nothing prosecutable?
No, but that
just tells you that they weren't going to go forward on. That's all that tells you. When somebody tells you something's not prosecutable, and don't explain why. There's no explanation. Why not? Why isn't it? It should have been made very clear, and these are the reasons why. Because then it should have been a dialogue. He gave a simple answer to a question. There was no dialogue explaining why it wasn't prosecutable. And I, again, I'm flabbergasted at the leadership that is just not addressing and putting the pressure. Now, again, let me be clear. I don't know what's going on in Mount Vernon since January. I don't. But in the past, I've known the leadership has failed 100, 200%. I can't say because I haven't been in Mount Vernon since February. So I don't know what's going on. And I know the new leadership has only been there. February was only a month. So I don't know what's been going on. COVID-19 has been, we'll call it, but.
Nick, can I ask you a question? When Bell was here and Bell was trying to straighten things out and Bell was kicked out, it was because he was trying to clean up Mount Vernon Police Department.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, he was definitely trying to do that. I don't know what happened, what transpired between him and Ernie.
And black leadership kicked him out.
It was Ernie. I don't know what happened. I don't know exactly what transpired. Bell is mom's on it. I've just sat back and I haven't really questioned Bell, and Ernie hasn't said anything else. So I don't want to speculate on that. But he definitely was trying to clean Mount Vernon up. And there was just a lot of nonsense that was going on. Just a lot of nonsense.
And let me tell you, Bell didn't get any help from Clinton Young. He didn't get any help from the city council.
From Ernie.
He was supposed to he was supposed to get a deputy commissioner. They refused to give him a deputy commissioner. And they said it wasn't in the budget. After they told him he was going to get a deputy commissioner. So Bell had an uphill time. And whatever happened, and he was trying to clean it up. And whatever happened between him and Ernie, this was around when Ernie was might have did a lot of time with the federal investigation. But whatever happened with him and Ernie, they tainted Bell, and I put it, and they lied about Bell. And these are black people, man. The way black people do each other.
Hold on, the black
horrendous, man.
Damon.
Horrendous.
The black clergy blame that on Anthony Mitchell.
Blame it on me.
They blamed it on you. You know where I got that from, right?
Where?
a certain member of the black clergy said, "How dare him want to bring him in as a commissioner?" And he drive a little black car and smoke cigars, Damon. he had it out. He had it out for you, Doc. And I had fights with him. Like, Doc, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, I had plenty of fights with these people at Grace Baptist Church. I'm sorry.
You know what it is, Stan? You know what it is? It's about the perception of power, right?
Yes,
it's
sir.
about a perception. Certain people feel that they are the all in all that's going to have to that's going to give it. And then when people like myself, Mitch, Kenny,
see what they don't realize is
power, they always have a problem with that.
They got a problem with it because we are born and raised, and we not no country hicks. Intelligent people that have gone to college, or some of us, and have done right by our community, one way or the other. So how dare you come here and tell someone that has put in the work in Mount Vernon, okay? And you want to dictate who should be and who shouldn't be. They didn't want Bell because they wanted to put their own person in there. And that's why they fought that whole thing. And when as many times as you come over there to say this is the right man for the job, they kept saying they didn't want to go for it. And when he got it, they were upset. And I've heard you.
Listen, but that goes through the whole gambit of how politics is done in the black community, right? Because it's always who you know, not what you know.
Exactly.
Right? And then you have to be tied into the pastors. You got to be tied into the black Democrats. You got to be tied into this person. You got to be tied into that person, you know, and then they wonder why, right? It's still messed up because you putting the wrong people in the positions. Just because they tied into you does not mean that that does not mean that they're the right person.
That's right.
Especially if you want change in the system, they can't come from the system that you want change in the system. Right? It just doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Not only that, you got to sit with law enforcement in Mount Vernon. You need consistency. Right now, they need to get a person with a contract. This mayor appointing and get rid of him when he wants, because there's going to be things that you're going to do in that leadership, in this department, to straighten it out, that the mayor's not going to like, that the council's not going to like, the legislators, nobody's going to like, because it's got to be done. So whoever walks into that office as commissioner deserves a contract for at least 5 to 6 years, so that they can do the work and they don't have the fear of getting knocked out the box if they're doing what they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And I'll say it on the record, man. I pray every day for Glenn because
I pray for him too.
Because you're dealing with something that for 4 years, you know, had no leadership. People were allowed to do whatever they
wanted to.
You know, and I sit back, man. I'm 30 years in corrections, and I sit back because I'm like, yo, the stuff that go on there, it will never happen up in the Department of Correction because you will be fired. It would, straight up fired. Like,
you go jail. The shit that happened there, you would have been put in jail for. But to get fired, you'd have been put in jail. Down here, down south, in North Carolina, where I'm at, you would have been put in jail for some of that nonsense.
Exactly.
As a police officer.
Whoever was in charge before this administration, whoever was in charge of the police department, the mayors, whoever hired the commissioners, those commissioners, that leadership would have been put in jail for some of the nonsense that I heard went down. Now, what the details are, I don't know, but come on, there's some ethics that were violated. There was some things that was done that wasn't proper. Like I said, I'm disappointed. People form one of the biggest mistakes Mount Vernon made. They fail to realize when you win an election, you're a mayor or a councilwoman for all of the city, not just the people that voted for you, but the people that didn't. And it's your job
to convince them that they made a mistake by not voting for you, by listening to them.
Oh my God.
When you don't vote for them, they don't do nothing for you. They don't want to see you. They don't want to hear from you. And then that's why in 4 years, you got a whole army of people ready to get them out. You got to open your ears and you got to stop being arrogant. That's what happens with leadership. Now, that's been the past leadership. I don't know about this leadership. Like I said, I haven't been in Mount Vernon since February. So I definitely got to say this. If you want to stay in leadership, you got to be a leader to all the people, not just your people.
I haven't been in Mount Vernon since February neither. I live in New York.
Yeah.
So as we coming on up to two
We
and a
done ran
half
both of
hours.
y'all out of town.
Yeah, we got
As we coming up on 2.5 hours, I wanted to ask Dan, is there anything we didn't ask you or anything else you want to say and you want to get out to the people? Because we understand, this is about telling that story, you telling a story that has not really been told like that. So is there anything we left out or you want the people to know?
Well, the true story and to understand what happened, because everybody has a different story about what happened to my son. I know what happened to my son. My son gave his life to save people in Westchester. Put his life on the line.
He put his life on the line. He did something that
And there's the system, as you will call it, turned their backs on him.
Yes, they did.
Some people that every chance they get, they'll say no, they didn't. But if not so, then put all the evidence and put it in front of me, because I'm coming for it. I'm coming for the evidence. All those pictures and cameras that y'all took down up there in White Plains, that y'all showed them little angles that y'all wanted to show that didn't show nothing about what happened that day. Okay, and talking about, my son was a thug cop, and talking about how he was up there and he had no business being up there. He didn't have his badge. All that stuff is going to be straightened out. This is just one part. And Damon's been asking me for a long time to come on, and I couldn't, because I still feel that, they're in enough power to come back at. But right now, Doc, with this COVID thing going on, I don't listen, whatever. But we're going to find out the truth. I'm in touch with some lawyers now. We're going to find the truth out. The truth is going to be put in front of y'all, and then you tell me what you think.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
You tell me what you think.
Amen.
Now, I want to, Anthony Mitchell, any last words? Any last words?
Let me just say this. We're in trying times right now.
Absolutely.
And I just hope everybody go out and vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. Vote where your heart lies. Mount Vernon, I'm going to tell you right now, you got leadership there. We need to support it, but the leadership also needs to support the people. You got a good commissioner, but he needs the support. He needs to be able to make the choice about who he wants as a deputy commissioner, not being chosen for him. People want to sit here and say that they know what they're doing. They want to depend on somebody else to give them guidance. We got to go with your heart. I'm a little disappointed in some of the things I'm hearing, but I don't want to speak on them because I don't know it to be fact. But I am looking forward to seeing a brighter Mount Vernon in these coming years, especially after this COVID is over. So, I'm here to support. I'd like to see some positive things because I got a lot of family there. And it's just, I'm not happy with some of the things I'm hearing. But, let's move forward. Let's hope everything works out fine. I want to stay positive. Okay, that's all. I'm gonna leave it in God's hands.
As always, man, for everybody that's listening, if I slipped a couple of curse words, excuse my French. Just add it to my passion.
Thank you. Me too. Thank you.
Just add it to my passion because I'm not in this for the money. Absolutely not. I have a job, right? I have a good job, right? And I could stay for another 20 years and actually I could do that. So I don't need any position. I don't support families for money. Not one family that I stood by can tell you that I asked them for money. Not like some other leaders that stand by families and do that. I do this. I do this because I believe in that these families should have a voice, and these families should get justice for the injustice that their family members have endured. And not only that, we've helped even law enforcement officers, you know, when their unions have failed them. And I've never asked for any money, right? This is not about money. This is not about status, right? This is not. I do it because God has blessed me with the venue to do it, and y'all can't take it away because this is what God gave me. So I'm saying, I'm asking people to come out on the 10th, right? We have to show, and we have to represent the lives that have been lost here in Westchester County, because they have not gotten the justice, and they have not gotten people have not heard these families, man. You know,
and not only that, Damon. So we don't have to have this happen again, because if you don't change the system, then somebody else out there is going to be where we are looking for help.
Exactly. And we have to seize this moment, Westchester County, Black officers, white officers of conscience mind. We have to seize this moment. This moment probably will never come again in our lifetimes.
Absolutely.
That we have an opportunity to change the system. And we cannot allow for the narrative to change, because they're trying to change the narrative. As you see, when you have government sponsored rallies, that's not for the people. That's not for the people.
Yeah, for the people or from the people.
That's like you supporting Pontius Pilate over Jesus.
And
I'm just keeping it 100. Because you cannot control the narrative of the struggle. Elected officials, it's not for you to do that. And what we saw in Westchester County and what we saw in White Plains was and they had the mayor of the officers that called Kenneth Chamberlain the N-word, tasing
and almost said that was a word of endearment.
Okay. Exactly. And nobody, and then to throw the rally, and not one officer got fired. Well, they tried to fire Hart, you know, but then he was going to fight back, and somehow he got killed in a car accident. Go figure that.
He got killed in the car accident, or he went somewhere else and got a job somewhere else?
No. He got
killed in a car accident.
Oh, okay. All right.
Once he decided to talk,
okay,
he lost his life. So we got to change the narrative. And then nobody wants to talk about Christopher Ridley. Nobody wants to talk about Kenneth Chamberlain. Nobody wants to talk about Maldonado. Nobody wants to talk about Cruz. Nobody's talking about them. Nobody wants to talk about the sister that died in the cell. Right? Nobody wants to talk about them.
DJ Henry.
Exactly. Nobody wants to talk about that. They want to hold George Floyd or wear a hoodie for Javon, but nobody wants to talk about these killings that happen right here in our backyard. We have to have the hard conversations.
But there's so many more.
Are we willing to do that? And that's why everybody that's listening, please come out on Friday to the White Plains Courthouse right in front of the MLK statue.
If you have an African American son, father, grandfather, nephew, grandchild that's African American and is a man, you need to come out, because
and Latino, because Jonathan Maldonado was killed by the police. He was Latino. He was killed by Greenberg police in 2017.
If you black,
If you're a mother
brown,
of a
yellow,
son, mother of a daughter, you need to be out there.
exactly, exactly,
And they're starting, and that's right, they're starting to go over the women now. They don't care.
exactly. So I think that it's time for the people to speak. Right? It's time for the speak. And yes, we will have Mimi Roca will be there. My unofficial cousin, as they tried to claim,
Monday Jones.
Monday Jones will be there. Who, you know, because these are the voices of change that the
Did y'all reach out to Bowman?
I never heard back from Bowman.
Okay.
Maybe if you got another contact, I haven't heard back from
just the social media. Yeah.
But these are the change that people decide to come out, that came out and voted for. And
I just got a message. Kamal Flowers was the young man that was killed in New Rochelle. His family will be there.
Good. Kamal Flowers. We have to change. We have to change it. And we have to change, and we have to hold our elected officials accountable, and we cannot take crumbs from the political podium anymore. We need laws, not laws that were created 7 years ago. You know, and I thank Senator Cousins and I thank the state legislature for passing a chokehold law because of George Floyd. But George Floyd didn't die from a chokehold. He died from a knee to the neck.
Yep.
He died from a knee to the neck. So why are you passing a chokehold law now?
Well, no, it not to knock it, but chokehold, you need to tell, because somebody would have died of a chokehold. That'd have been next. So I'm glad.
No, but what I'm saying is, Mitch, we need law to say any violation of policy.
Wouldn't it be excessive force? Excessive force should be what it is. You know, so under that, you can put up a whole bunch of stuff. You know, them shooting at Chris 15 times, 8 feet away, that's excessive force. You with your knee on somebody, that's excessive force. So when do you charge them for excessive force?
No, excessive force doesn't exist as long as the cops say he was in fear of his life.
Yeah,
as long as he's able to say that. That's why we must address the law to say any violation of policy, procedure, and training, any violation to an injury or death is a crime. Period. That covers everything. That covers everything under the sun. But see, they don't want to do that. They don't want to take it to that level because of the police unions and because some politicians on the police payroll, because they get money. And then when you go to the DA's office, you're talking to DA because your son was killed, and the DA got a White Plains police mug, PBA mug, sitting on her desk.
And supposedly the current DA has taken $10,000 in campaign donations from police unions.
Oh yeah, but he'd be gone in January.
Yeah. So I'm just saying though.
Like at this point, Scott Pino is really not even a conversation. What we have to do is continue to empower the people. You know, I mean, I think Mimi Roca is going to do a great job, and
I believe so.
I think some people.
Yeah, from what I'm hearing, I hear so too.
On what she is going to do, as the district attorney, you know. But at the end of the day, you know, the people must be empowered with the knowledge so they could ask the right questions. Because when you scream, like I'm gonna give you an example because I gotta get ready for work.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to go too.
If you scream, we want murder, right? We want this officer charged for murder. But wait a minute, murder, you have to prove intent.
That's right.
You have to prove that officer woke up that morning and said, I'm going to kill me somebody. See, and that's why they charge him with murder and they get off. No, you want manslaughter.
Yep.
You want manslaughter. See, you cry murder, and then these protest profiteers and some of these no good lawyers that's only there for a big payday, they keep screaming murder, but they know it's hard to charge a cop with murder.
Absolutely.
Charge him with manslaughter.
Absolutely.
Because when you violate policy, procedure, and training, it's not intentional. You didn't intend to do that. So you can get him on that. It's gonna be a higher threshold to prove that that man woke up that morning and said, I'm gonna kill me Ray. I'm gonna go kill Ray today.
Right.
It's hard to prove. Now they charged the dude in Floyd because of the fact that they had history. See, the officer in Floyd had history, and to the fact that when the other cop said he wasn't breathing, he kept his knee on his neck.
Yep. With his hands in his pocket.
Exactly. So, but on an average day, it's really hard to charge an officer with murder. It's easier to get them with manslaughter. And people need to
what is the other thing? Reckless homicide or something like that? Is that a thing?
It falls underneath manslaughter.
Okay.
A lot of that falls under. It's one of the articles. But you know, Dame, you're 100% right on that. But even more than that, we got to bring better people into law enforcement. Unfortunately, there's no standard. You know, you talk about a psychological. That's really not a psychological geared toward blacks. And not only that, when you have people that get supervisor positions and don't have any hours or community service hours within that city, to me, before you go on to become a sergeant, you need to have at least 100 community service hours in that city, working, doing something. That's how I would do it. You know, you can't be a supervisor in Mount Vernon unless you've done something with the boys club, 100. Because you can't become a supervisor for 3 to 5 years. So if you ain't did nothing in the boys club, you had 3 years to do some community service. You gotta have 100 community service hours.
No, and
you want to be a lieutenant? You
Maybe
gotta have
no bike riding in here.
And Mitch, you hit it on the nose, because that's all law enforcement. And as we know, civil service is a lucky Saturday. How high you score on the supervisor's test, right? And you could be a terrible officer, right? You could be a terrible officer, and look, even in my department, I wonder how some of these people even be supervisor, because
man, Dame, I would have my department have, you know, if you're not from Mount, if you want to be a supervisor, regardless of whether you're from Mount Vernon or outside of Mount Vernon, you got to have 100 community service hours. You want to be a lieutenant, 150 community service hours. You want to be a captain, 200 community service hours. Because if you're not engaged with the community, then you're not serving the community. So I don't understand how people keep allowing these different things, allowing these people to become bosses that don't have no love for the city at all. How can you supervise officers if you don't have any love for the city? I don't get it.
Absolutely. We this conversation, as with every conversation we have, could go on another 6 hours, but I'm on vacation and I'm about to bounce. So I'm just keeping it real. I got a plate of food and family waiting for me right out there somewhere. So I'm out of here. But I just want to say, I want to thank everybody who did tune in. I want to thank Kenneth Chamberlain. I want to thank Stan Ridley. I want to thank Mitch for taking part in the show. I want to thank all our listeners. And Damon, Stephanie Swan said, French is the language of the passionate, or something like that. When you said, excuse my French. And Nas wanted to go on record saying that she co-signed what you said. You've never asked for a dime. You've helped her and her needs with the situation with her son. And she said, the world needs a Mount Vernon, or the world needs 100 more of you. You know what I'm saying? And she said everything we've done is from the passion to the heart.
I wanna thank all three of you brothers, because you've been there 12 years. Mitt's been in the game with me for a long time. You know, childhood friends. I met Dame not too long ago. What, 15 years ago, Dame?
Yeah.
But he's always
I came to town 2014, so that's when I came back.
Yeah. Well, what I heard about you, because your DJing skills. Your DJing skills.
Nothing, man. You ain't nothing. See, you being a hater.
In the pool, baby.
Your DJing skills.
That's where I'm going too. I'm about to do the same thing. I'm about to do the same thing, bro.
But
fix me a Ciroc smoothie and I'm good to go.
Yeah, but you guys have been doing a great job, with no support. I don't know who's talking that money stuff, but that's just people, they say the same thing about me. Or I'm looking to get a payday. I'm looking for my son. How's about that?
Justice for your son. Yep.
Justice for my son is where I am now, and I'm glad you guys have been there, and you're doing a great job, and y'all know y'all can call me at any time. If I can, I'll be there.
See you Friday, brother. And
Yes, sir.
and this is Friday will be the voice of the people, man. It'll be the people unplugged, for justice, man. So we got to support the families that were lost here. We have to create the conversation. We have to start talking about people here. My heart goes out to George Floyd and all other families outside of Westchester, but we got to raise the ones that we lost here.
We gotta take care of home first before we can do anything else. For anybody else, if we ain't worried about what's going on at home, we all the other stuff don't make no difference. You know what I'm saying? And the theme of this is we have George Floyd's here in Westchester County.
That's right.
We need to uplift them all. And I want to thank everybody, and I also just want to uplift. So that's Friday. Saturday, I will be joining the Iona Prep 4. You go to blackwestchester.com if you don't know what I'm talking about. The 4 students that spoke up on the racism and the discrimination that they faced the whole time they was at Iona Prep, and they decided not to be silenced no more. They asked me to speak, and that will be in front of the county center on Saturday. And then Jesse Van Leeuwen and them Save Mount Vernon are having the rally. I think that starts at 1 or 2 or something.
Right.
That's where Mount Vernon City Hall or something.
Mount Vernon City Hall. Everybody in Mount Vernon, reach out to Jesse Van Leeuwen. He's having a rally for accountability. When the 2 seniors in the community who was cuffed and taken in strip search.
Y'all please come out. I gotta say this too. Please come out and support Jesse Van Leeuwen. I mean, support all of these functions. I'm down here in the South. If I could get there, I would. But please, we need this right now. We need to stop the violence. We need to stop the police nonsense. All of this needs to stop. Go ahead, Damon. I'm sorry, man. I'm just giving.
No, brother, you're right.
I miss my home. I miss my home base.
And I must commend our city because of the rally that they did a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
they did a wonderful job with no violence at that rally, and I heard there were thousands of people there. 1 to 2. It was jam packed. To see nothing happen in our town when they say our town is going down and is riddled with violence. You guys did a great job.
And tell Kenny, man, my battery died on my phone. That's why I disappeared for a while, y'all. I forgot.
Yeah, that's all right, brother. You out there by the pool, man. You ain't paying.
Come on, man. Yeah.
Pay no attention to your battery.
I got my phone on my charger right now too.
Man, you better get a charger cord out there, man.
He should have had an extra phone. What is he doing? Come on now.
Right.
Come on, man. Come on.
So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. You could have been doing anything else, but you decided to ride with us. And as always, this is Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show every Sunday, 6 to 8. Well, this is 8:46. We were in the mix right now. We're on Facebook. We're gonna keep coming to you no matter what. No matter what Corona, no matter what, we're gonna keep coming to you every Sunday. This is episode 267. And for all of y'all that tuned in, we'll be back next week. Peace.
God bless. God bless you, AJ. God bless you, Dane. Keep up the good work, man.
All right, brother.
God bless all of you.
All right, peace, y'all. Enjoy.
All right.